Please tell people who are you and what do you do?
Hey, Randolph. Thanks for having me on. So my name is Cole Kline. I am current president of the American Association of Public Insurance Adjusters and president of Hope Public Adjusters is my semi-national public adjusting firm that I
Mhm.
run and operate. So that's who I am, and I'm really interested to get into it. Like I was telling you, I got my new microphone, so I came prepared.
Oh man, and that's something that we're going to talk about because I've been getting your newsletter. I think for literally years now, at least 2 years, right? And that's something that you do. You do share the equipment that you're using. You share the books that you're reading. You share some insights that you've garnered from different facets of life, right? So,
Yeah, it's funny you
mhm.
mentioned that actually. And so our insurance restoration roundtable email blast is what I call it. But yes, we've been sending that out for God, man, probably 3 years, over 3 years now, and
Mhm.
it's probably close to four. It is my favorite thing that we do as a business. It started out as a way for us to market, but I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan. I don't know if you've read any of Tim Ferriss's
I
stuff.
haven't.
So Tim Ferriss wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, the 4 Hour Chef, which I haven't got into, but Tools of Titans and Tribe of Mentors, which are just giant, giant books. But if you haven't read them, I highly recommend. Tim Ferriss is my favorite author.
Hmm.
He has an email blast that goes out every Friday called the 5 Bullet Friday.
Hmm.
It originally was very business centered and like business tools, tactics, habits. It's what kind of got me into it. It's changed a little bit since then. It's kind of expanded to be now about like psychedelics and stuff like that. But so that 5 Bullet Friday, which is tools, tactics, habits, is where I actually got the idea and made it more industry related. So we give out tools that we're actually using in the field, tools that we're using in the office, tactics, how we're winning claims, how we're structuring claims, position letters, habits, books we're reading, and then we throw in some stuff I just think's cool, which is, for example, like different, like the last one that I just sent out this past Friday had a cool like meditation retreat in it. Books that I'm reading, and I try to hit about a book a week, so there's a lot of recommendations in there. But yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that. It's one of my favorite things that even as we've grown in marketing, I really try not to pass off to my team too hard because I love it so much.
Oh yeah, so you one of those 52 books a year guys.
I'm not quite at 52. I would like to. So I'm a slow reader, probably one of the slowest on earth. But I can listen to audiobooks on 2x, and I've had to really work at it. But yeah, I'm Audible, um, and I'm not at a book a week, but I'm pretty close to it. So uh,
Oh yeah, because we'll talk about that because I always read books, and
mhm.
if you say you're a slow reader, then uh, I'm. You know when Flash is doing his Flash things, and then everybody's just it looks like they're standing still.
Mhm.
I'm that guy. Like I've literally been reading the same books for over a decade. But yeah, but I want to get into that too. So and I know that you have that new position as the Did you say president?
Yeah, so I got voted in as president of the American Association of Public Insurance Adjusters. So our tagline: we're the national home of the public adjusting profession. We're uh, a, an association that represents public adjusters and supports policyholders. It's kind of our pillars that we make decisions around.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we can dive into that. But yeah, it's recent. I've been lucky enough to have some really great mentors in that. I feel like I'm in a master class about once a week now. I know most of the industry knows Holly Soffer. She's a contract attorney for public adjusters, and if you're a public adjuster and not working with Holly Soffer, you need to be. And Tony Dulio, and he has I don't know if you've seen his videos on YouTube, but he goes through
Yeah.
like the perfect claim scenario, and if you're not learning, so our whole team goes through his videos, and they're just phenomenal. So he gives out a lot. And so I've been really blessed to have them kind of as mentors as I've taken on this role, and they've just really helped kind of push the association along, and they're the brains behind it.
Oh yeah, I think the Tony that you mentioned, I think he's in a group, a Facebook Messenger group that I'm in called Pam, ran by Ian Rupert.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely, and that's relatively recent. But I'm assuming they brought you in, and yes, that is a benefit to be around people. It sounds like you're saying you're able to just sit and listen. Sometimes, a lot of times, from what I've observed about being a public adjuster, is what we do is very comprehensive. Like people who are good at this, not the ones that just throw stuff against the wall and see what sticks, but the ones who are good at this with supporting documentation and letters and signed sworn proofs of loss and calendars that at 14 days, 30 days, 90 days. The people who are good at this, depth, man, it's so much we have to keep up with. Not building science, claims handling, and I'm imagining they didn't just bring you in just to sit and listen. They brought you in because you had a wealth of knowledge. How long have you been a public adjuster?
Yes, you actually hit on quite a few things. AAPIA has been around since, I believe, right around 2004. And they contributed to helping draft the original Model Act for public adjusters, which, for those public adjusters that don't know, the Model Act is what I think there's like 17 or 18 states now that have adopted the Model Act, and other states that have adopted part of the Model Act, which in legislation, the rules that a public adjuster operates under. That's essentially the Model Act in many states. The Model Act was put together by NAIC, and then they essentially distribute that to states that adopt it. So with contract requirements, um, uh, how to operate, licensing, stuff like that, all comes from the Model Act. But yeah, so my background with Hope Public Adjusters, um, we were able to scale at a fairly decent level. There's definitely firms that are bigger than us, and we're still learning quite a bit every single day. But my role with AAPIA was to come in and implement structure, much as a lot of public adjusters would imagine, or anybody who is built a business, kind of the infrastructure. So we've revamped a lot, but a few examples: membership and the member journey. It's something that we're, I would still say, in foundations with, but we've done quite a bit, and we have a lot of intention for growing. So with our membership journey, we have a newsletter that comes out monthly, talking about legislative changes that are happening in some states, coming to other states, happening on a national level that will affect all public adjusters, and kind of just keeping everybody up to pace. Then also just talking about the community of public adjusting, who's doing what, where, what we're doing as an association, how we're helping public adjusters in different aspects, either helping them as firms or as just individual public adjusters, and the resources that we provide. So we're really working on our member journey as kind of at the forefront, and sponsorships, because we have a large a large group of members. We've acquired some pretty awesome sponsors, and so we're always taking those on. Most of our efforts go towards, we're not just an association that's bringing together public adjusters. The point of what we do is really legislative. We do a lot of what I would call like defensive legislative or lobbying efforts. We can talk about some of those as we get a little further along. But that's where a lot of our members' contributions go to, from being a member, and especially our sponsors, helping support the industry when bad legislation or legislation that's just not great is coming up. So we stay really busy on that front of it. But yeah, so I was brought in more for the infrastructure side of the organization, and to establish kind of a longevity for us.
Okay, so Now infrastructure, that's very important, right? The infrastructure, and I truly believe all truths are parallel. The infrastructure of a city is its roads, right? uh, you can't go anywhere. You can't even ride a bike without sidewalks and streets. And you bring in the infrastructure. One of my very first questions that I ask somebody is, "What's something you know now that you wish you knew when you first started?" Is it not related to the infrastructure, what you were brought into? Is it something else?
Man, that's actually a really great question. I love it. I saw a post. I'll give a shout out to Matt Behrens with C3 Adjusters. He made a post on Facebook the other day, and I think this is a lesson that I've taken really this year. That really around surrounding people, and that the so I think that process in any business, I can relate it to public adjusting specifically, and constructing a public adjusting firm. I think process is 40% of it, and I think people are 60. The other 60%. And I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek and the belief in that you can develop people and help them grow. However, I think that there's power in bringing in people that can help you grow as a leader. That's what Matt's post was about on Facebook. But I think attracting or the acquisition of high level people, not people that you provide an opportunity to. And I think this is great if you provide an opportunity and can help somebody get to an amazing ability. But I think rather than that, bringing in people that have an amazing ability, or I like to say, have won a gold medal. Not somebody that has the ability to win a gold medal, but has done it in the past. And I think acquisition of people that can help protect and nurture you as a leader, that brings something to the table that you don't have. And I think that's what allows organizations to really thrive. I think public adjusting is one of the most complex businesses you can choose to grow and operate. I mean, not only are you constructing a process, but or a product, which is the claims packet and presentation of the claim and negotiation of the claim. But the sales cycle is so long. Most of the time, you're B2B. But your client isn't B2B. They're, it's just the middleman or the nucleus, between you and your end client. And then all the legal restrictions, contract requirements, fee caps, and then as you expand states, it gets more complex. And you really can't hire, or at least we haven't been successful. I don't want to. Some people may have. We haven't had great success with bringing in public adjusters that are just extremely green or from the infancy stage. So I think that it's difficult. So I think hiring people or with AAPIA is all nobody gets paid. It's all volunteer, and people that just care about their industry, their adjusting career, the trajectory of their firms, bringing in and acquiring people that have just amazing skill sets. So one thing that I wish that I knew when I started was that me being inherently a kind of sales driven, I can think like, oh man, I can solve this problem. I can develop this person a little bit more. If I get them a little bit farther, they're going to understand this. If I give them a little bit more time, and I can will all things into existence. And I just think with sometimes with people that's not true, and it can take you so much farther, so much quicker, and make life easier. Just to bring in people that have tremendous skill sets that maybe you don't.
Yeah, I like what you said there. Hire people that have already won a gold medal, right? Essentially, someone who's already proven to themselves that this is possible, or something in this that same industry vertical is possible. Therefore, you're not having to overcome working on mindset. It sounds like what you're saying is you're not overcoming working on mindset, and then the process. They already have essentially the mindset. Everybody mindset does still need developing. Everybody still needs coaches, right? But they've already established this is possible. Now let me see what Cole and Hope Public Adjusters can add to that. Right. That seems very valuable to me. I heard someone say this before, and it resonated to me. They say, I don't mold clay, I chisel stone. I'm not bringing in people who need me to mold them. I want somebody to come here that's already rock, and I want to chisel them.
Well, I love that. Yeah, I absolutely love that, and I think it's true. I think just it's a really hard lesson to learn, especially going through. For most public adjusters, I think start out as maybe not having a lot of experience in running business, but they do have a lot of experience in the adjusting side, or they come from some aspect. And just the majority, I think there's a small number of public adjusters that hop into it and just are inherently intelligent and can figure it out. Um, but yeah, I think that that's one of the biggest lessons in business and trying to grow and scale a firm is, and I love your analogy of chiseling stone rather than molding clay. And I think that it's important that everybody needs opportunity, and being able to provide that opportunity is phenomenal. But I think that there's also a choice to make. And if you can give an opportunity to somebody who has proven track record or just a lot of ability or skill set, I also think those people are hard to find. It's I think that's one of the most challenging aspects of running a business or an organization. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I really love that question. What do you wish you would have known? And
Oh yeah.
yeah,
And I think is very important, right? And I'm assuming one of the things that you have to work with people with, even the people who already won a gold medal, is time management, and possibly what you learned from the 4 hour work week helps out with that. What are some? Are there not any strategies that you learned from the 4 hour work week that you implement in what you do and with the people who work with you?
man, I'm so happy you asked this question. So our company, pretty much everything in the 4 hour work week, we've implemented. I know that you sent me an email, so you probably got my auto response, which is also from the 4 hour work week, which basically is the way it's described in the 4 hour work week. I might describe it a little different. Was training others to work with you how you intend to work. So setting expectations or communicating very well. So one thing that we've implemented are just auto response emails that say, hey, it may take us up to, or me, my team's pretty responsive, but it may take me 72 hours to respond to an email communication. So if you send one, I probably haven't seen it. And so that's one way. And then just other methods of being effective and efficient. I love anything efficiency or optimization or improvement driven. I'm a big Google Calendar fanatic, and we use block scheduling. We actually had coaches that were so I got really lucky, and I found some business coaches my second ish year in business, which taught us how to implement time and priority management using block scheduling. There's a learning curve that goes with that. So originally we started using our Google Calendar, and we'd schedule out like days. Like today, I'm gonna work on claims. Tomorrow, I'm gonna work on uh, marketing. The next day, I'm gonna do emails and also work on claims. And then you get more narrowed in to where your kind of block scheduling or like batch scheduling, you may call it. For these 4 hours, I'm going to follow up on my claims. And the next 4 hours, I'm going to, whatever it may be. And then we've evolved to the point where instead of using a task list, we use our calendars. So every single task, I'll give you an example, like with claims, we may need to say we've completed an estimate and we've submitted that to the insurance company. We're gonna schedule out. I need to write an email and follow up with the adjuster, and it's going to take me 15 minutes. And 15 minutes after that, I'm going to be working on something else. But our entire task list is on our block schedule. They're also color coordinated. You can actually label what the colors mean on Google Calendar. So we've kind of taken that to the next level, and our whole team does that. We don't work off of most of our team works off of a block schedule. Only our public adjusters, we call them building consultants, only our public adjusters work off of a task list. Everybody else in the company has a block schedule where they're actually working off of basically a task list in their calendar that's color coordinated. And what that has allowed us to do is really project efficiency. So instead of having a long task list, you're like, oh man, I'm never going to get to this stuff again. That, I could probably work another 8 hours, and I have all this stuff I have to do, and you're flustered, and it can just be a lot. It's a lot of weight. Instead, when you can visually see your whole block schedule out on a calendar, you just, hey, I got a long task list, but I'm going to get to that on Tuesday. So then when Miss Smith calls, you're like, hey, I've got you on my schedule. I'm going to get to you on Tuesday. Not, hey, I'm working on it. I'm working on some estimates. I'll get to you right away. I'm pushing you to the top of my list. It's planning. So coming with a plan for success, and one of the things that we've done. But yeah, so everything in the 4-hour work week, I don't think there's one page that isn't just packed full of great solutions or optimizations or content. We use everything. Also, we use one other tool that I really love is Evernote. It's a memory tool. It's like your own personal search engine. It's like your own personal Google. Anything you put in there, you can search, and we use it for literally everything. Say business cards, websites, quotes. So yeah, it's really
That's
great.
cool. That's cool because it seems like it's all working together, right? Because one of the things that I learned, which you seem to have learned as well, is when somebody reaches out to you, you're not going to be able to respond to them immediately all the time, but it's a best practice to at least acknowledge them within the first 24 hours. And it seems like once you acknowledge them within 24 hours, this person that's working on a block schedule, chances are they're going to get to that person within the next 3 days anyway. So if you acknowledge within 24 hours, I'll be in touch with you within 72 hours, and chances are you're already on my block schedule. It makes things easy. It also seems like that's a way to micromanage without making anyone feel like they're being micromanaged, right? Because do you have access to the calendars? Is that how it works? You can see what's going on.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of discussion about that term micromanagement with having a company that works off of a block schedule. And I disagree with the term. I think it's a remote management tool. Our team works remote. Our whole team works remote. We have an office in Plainfield, Indiana. And it's great if people want to come to the office, get out of their house, and kind of shake it up a little bit. But our team mostly works remote because we're operating in 28-ish states. We actually operate in about like 14 to 16 on a regular basis, and then it's here or there in these other states that we're licensed as we are trying to grow and continuing to do so. So everybody's remote. All of our technical guys who are kind of behind the scenes, and then we have a forensics team that's kind of road warriors. But the block scheduling allows us to not only see what you're working on and what you're planning on working on. Nobody on our team really needs micromanagement. It's kind of back to the gold medalist that, bringing on somebody, you're probably not going to be on our team if you need a little bit of micromanaging. But it is something that helps with leadership of initiatives, especially one thing we're focused on right now is building a network. So this is with Hope Public Adjusters. We're really hyper focused on building networks with both property managers and with contractors. And so with our marketing team, we can see what initiatives they're working on, how much time they're spending on their initiatives. And we had a visual picture of it. So it's really easy. And then we have our reporting that shows us what kind of results are we getting. So it's definitely we're not all in the office, but it's definitely a tool to, it's like a remote management tool. We're not monitoring how many clicks you have on your keypad in the day. How often you're switching screens on your computer. It's not what we do. But it is a really powerful tool for that as well. Yeah. That you picked up on that It's really great. But I think with everybody so spread out, and I think a lot of companies are like this, especially after COVID, um, having some kind of tool to work together still and give you that kind of still working together in an office infrastructure. We've definitely seen that benefit as well.
Oh yeah, man. To me, I was actually just posting about this. Some people are taught how to pass, and some people are taught how to fail, right? And I think in the the general sense of things, that 2 year time frame of COVID, a lot of people failed. A lot of businesses that had been running for decades, generations failed. A lot of different opportunities that people, maybe they had been working on a business model forever and they finally got a business loan, finally opened up their brick and mortar, and then boom, COVID hit, right? But if I'm thinking the way that I'm taught to think, how to fail forward, I'm going to look at the what education, what did I learn from that experience? And one of the things that I learned a lot, but one of the benefits that came from it is it seems like a lot of people are willing to do more high ticket business and never having met you at all. At one point, well, with what I do, I'm working with people. Sometimes we're moving around hundreds of thousands. Sometimes we're moving around millions, and they have that old school of wanting to look you in your face, wanting to get to in the same room and look you in the face.
Yeah.
Now, I got clients. I touch so much of their money, and we've never met in person. Have you not experienced that with any boards or any property management companies to where we've never met in person? We've only done video where I typically would have had to go sit in your board meeting. Now we're just talking via video, and you just signed the contract for a multi-million-dollar claim.
Yes. So I really like thinking about this a lot. Actually, I think that as technology gets more advanced, and it is, we have AI and robots doing crazy things, and there's like air now. I don't know if you've seen that, but like you can get phone calls from robots, and they almost sound like people. I think it is,
Almost.
yeah, almost. I think it is becoming easier to have less connection with people. Um, One thing that we've tried as a public adjusting firm was because we work in such a large area, we had the question of how do we manage a really large network of contractors, really, over a long period of time, but how do we do that impactfully? And what we found is so we put together a lot of like value, it's like what we would call it, webinars on commercial roof systems and inspection protocols, appraisal process for contractors, and supplement binders that we were mailing out to contractors, and the results that we get from having a more of a real person connection are night and day. You can definitely drive business on it. I think there is a like the law of numbers, and that is true. And the more you reach out, and you can make it unreasonable to fail in business, like you said, like failing forward. I think you can stack the cards to where it's so unreasonable that you would fail, that it's just unlikely. And I think that's true for, roofing companies, real estate, public adjusting, or really any business, whether it's lead generation, the product that you're delivering, and figuring out what that looks like. Um, I think that a lot of so I can relate to what you said too. Like we sign contracts without being in person, where we work with people who are serious about working with us. We can review your claim. Usually a contractor sends us, the photos, and we can review those. We can pull storm reports. We can review your policy. We can, get your claims history, the whole gamut, from our computer. And if, when we're signing contract, we're not going to come out to site. We're going to review your claim, tell you what we can do for you. And if you're serious about working with us, then we'll sign a contract. But we're also building those relationships. I think it's twofold. And also still holding that real person side, hopping on the phone, or Google Meets, trying not to communicate just through email or these like automated systems. I think they inherently don't work. The automated systems. I think that you have to have some kind of like people aspect and trust in anything that you build, whether it's a roofing company, real estate, public adjusting, or any kind of business. But yeah, I think that there's tools for efficiency. It's kind of what I would call the like the DocuSign reviewing claims through, and that's going to become easier. But I think for like long-term relationships and thriving organizations, I think you have to have some kind of connection and people and trust and, you know, um, kind of clear path there.
Yeah. What you're saying is a phrase that I heard before. Is not what, it's who. And if you can build these relationships with people outside of the claim itself, it would most likely make the claim run smoother and potentially bring more business in the future, right? And then you also mentioned the law of large numbers. I'm a big fan of the law of large numbers, right? And you know, in the law of large numbers, a lot of people say it's one of the proofs that we are in a simulation. It's amazing how the law of large numbers, it doesn't change, right? How you can reach out to 100 people, how 10 people are going to look at your landing page, how 3 people are going to set a meeting, and how person is going to sign. It's amazing how that doesn't change. And one of the way I try to explain to people the law of large numbers, and I think the reason why we know it so well is that's why the insurance companies are so successful. They have data points for centuries, a large number of data points to where they can make accurate positions, how they can somehow strategically pull out of a state right before the most catastrophic events happen. Like, how did they know that was going to happen, right? It's because they have so many data points. The way that I like to explain the law of large numbers to person is I say, I have a quarter in my hand and I say, what percentage of chance do you think I'm going to flip this quarter and it's going to land on heads? And most people will say 50% because it's a two-sided coin, right? But what if I flip it once and it lands on tails? I can say legitimately and sincerely, every time I flip this coin, it lands on tails 100% of the time. And what if I flip it twice and it lands on tails again? I can say again, I flip this coin multiple times, and every time I flip this coin, it lands on tails 100% of the time. But the more you flip that coin 100 times, 500 times, 1,000 times, sometimes it's going to land on heads, sometimes it's going to land on tails. It might land on tails 20 times straight, and then heads 10 times straight. But the more you flip that coin, it will come out to be 50-50, right? 50-50. And I use that law of large numbers, that data points to, like you said, predictably do what I'm going to do. I think for public adjusters starting out, that law of large numbers is good. The more you talk to people, the more likely you're going to get that sale. But to your point, don't just talk in a transaction conversation,
Mm-hmm.
talk in a relationship building conversation. And speaking of relationships, you're the president of AAPIA, president of Hope Public Adjusters. You're reading almost 52 books a year. You're writing weekly newsletters. How does your family deal with having to negotiate getting your time?
I really love this question too. So you keep throwing these at me. This is, I think there's a lot of business owners that can have like the woe is me. I'm working my life away. Like poor me, the business owner, and I think it's a choice. You choose to, start a business. And I think most business owners start businesses with the intent of financial freedom, choosing your time, choosing what you do, and then quickly learn that there's a captive side of business. A lot of times you can become captive by your business, the demands of the business, the financial restraints of your business, um, it is what business is. And I think most business owners go through that, and there's a community and kind of a sense of like most people aren't going to understand that unless you understand that and you've been through it. But I think as you become more efficient, it allows time for you to fit more into your schedule, to take on more, and you stay busy and you can. And that's definitely a choice that I've made with taking on Hope. My original goal was to work like 5 claims a year, and they're all going to be large, and then I'm going to take off the rest of my it's just not how it works. You got to gain the skills and the tools and build relationships with contracting partners and maintain those relationships. And you don't get the big jobs unless you uh, service the smaller ones too, or at least go through that. You got to cut your teeth, and in order to, I think, really build what we do isn't just public adjusting, it's a trade. In order to build the trade of adjusting claims, understanding policy, understanding the needs of contractors, what they're going after, the problems they run into. Same thing with property managers, the needs they run into, the problems they have. It's a continuous learning cycle. And the same thing with now taking on AAPIA, and not only implementing infrastructure, building out a member's journey, talking to new potential members that are like, why would I join? And we're also doing a lot of legislative stuff. So we've, taken part in some national model bills that are coming to fruition and are open and in negotiations. We've worked in multiple states, um, and I can kind of talk about that a little bit, but it's a lot of time. And one thing that I'm really really careful about is my block schedule. So even with kind of back full circle, I schedule out my time. So weekends, I'm really not doing too much. I may work like a day a weekend here or there. And recently, our COO at Hope is out on maternity leave, so I've inherited some additional duties. So it's cyclical; it goes through cycles. But I think instilling a really solid team has helped with that. Really being careful about the time that you don't give away. I think if you don't plan your time or plan, like personal time, plan for activities, then those activities don't happen. So I think those should go into your calendar first, and then there's no overlap. They just happen. So.
So sounds like even time with your family is in that block schedule.
My whole life's in a block schedule. Yeah, I know what I'm doing like 3 weeks out. But yeah, time with family, fun time. I'm a other side motocross fanatic. So anything that I do, whether it's um, big trips. I actually had a really cool opportunity last October to go to Mount Everest, and I got to go with who Mike Posner is.
I'm not. I may know him by face, but not familiar with his name.
Okay, so he's a pop singer. He sings like I took a pill in Ibiza, um, drugged it anyway. So I got to go to Mount Everest with Mike
I've
Posner.
heard that song before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's well known, but I got to go with Mike Posner and a group of really amazing entrepreneurs, and just really awesome people. Not all entrepreneurs. There was actually a guy that rode his bike across America twice. Some ultra marathon runners, and so I was actually out for 3 weeks. When I went there, we like 3.5 weeks. So it was a long time. It was my first like really extended time away, and that went really good. I have just an amazing team in place, and they were able to just kind of maintain. I came back, and I really didn't have a mountain to get back into, so that was it was really nice. And as I'm moving forward, I'm planning other trips like that. I'd like to do like Kilimanjaro, and sometime next year, like July or so, summit Kilimanjaro, and kind of so on and so forth from there. So those I'm planning out a ways in advance, but all of those live in the block schedule.
Oh man. I still don't, for the life of me, don't understand you mountain climbers, but I seem to like what y'all do. Everything else in life. I don't know if you're familiar with Vince Perry. He's a mountain climber too. So and actually, it's funny that we're on this and you're talking about climbing mountains. I heard that there are three types of business owners. You have mountain climbers, you have freedom fighters, and you have crafts persons. Like you have to decide which one you are. Are you somebody that's you're going to do everything it takes to be the biggest in your industry vertical, or are you just fighting for freedom? You want to do this to make as much money to have as much free time as you want, or even if your numbers don't line up, even if you can be charging way more for your services, you just like doing it. You're a crafts person. You just want to get as good and be the best at doing what you do as possible. They all can be lucrative in a sense, right? A lot of times the mountain climber is more lucrative, but it's at a sacrifice of certain relationships, certain dynamics, right? And a lot of times the crafts person is probably the smartest person in the room, but they probably making the least out of everyone, right? And even with that freedom fighter, like you said, you can work those 5 claims a year. But I heard from one of my mentors, Doug Andrew, with recreation comes recreation. I don't think words are an accident. It's the exact same spelling. When you recreate, you recreate. Now you got all this free time, and all of a sudden you got ideas forming, just exploding in your head. And now people are looking at you, knowing how financially free you are, yet you're still working and still taking on more responsibilities. And for the life of them, they can't understand why.
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you're familiar. You follow Indra Nui at all? She was the CEO of Pepsi.
Oh no, I
Um,
haven't.
so she has a statement that she put out or says, and I really love it. She says that your success does not correlate with how busy your block schedule is, and I thought that was really impactful for me actually.
Mm-hmm.
That how packed full or how I think definitely early in business too. I think how busy or how much you put into your block schedule makes you feel like, oh man, I accomplished so much today. I did a ton, and tomorrow, and I'm on the grind. Um, but I think that how you implement leverage, how you implement hiring the key players, having amazing team members that can help you grow and scale faster, make all the difference. And I think that how you manage your time, I think how you spend your time is how you spend your life. So yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And what character equals destiny is what I heard, and that sounds
I love
like what
that.
you're saying. So APIA, I know one of the things about APIA that they y'all focus on most so is the legislative. What is APIA currently doing on the legislative front in different states?
A lot. So I'll kind of go through a list. More and more keeps popping up, so we're continually taking action and kind of adding more to the plate. Um, New Jersey, we're working on getting clarity on contract language from the Department of Insurance. Um, Kentucky just had legislation passed that originally, so this part didn't pass, but originally they had proposed legislation that had a 2.5% fee cap on public adjusters for the first 25,000 on claims proceeds, and then 12% after that, or 12 or 15% after that. And so we negotiated that. We don't negotiate for fee caps. Sometimes you just get into a situation where they're going to implement a cap, and that is it. So we were able to work with the legislators, so House representatives and senators, along with the help of Kentucky public adjusters, all really came together and had a big impact. So now there's a 15% fee cap in Kentucky. And then there also, the Department of Insurance in Kentucky is now interpreting that 15% fee cap to not be on the total claims proceeds, because some public adjusters will do what they call like mop up money, where they're charging 25%, but not to exceed 15% of the total claim. from like date of contract forward. But the Department of Insurance is currently interpreting that language to be 15% from data contract forward. So that like would be your mop up uh, cap. So we're working with the Department of Insurance and those legislators that we worked with originally to help pass that legislation, to try to get clarity around those parameters. And then there's also model acts are open or going to be open. So there's associations like NCOIL, which is national. It's like a legislators association, and NCOIL is currently working on a model act draft for public adjusters that they're modeling after the Kentucky public adjuster language, which has a 15% fee cap in it, and the model also does. So NCOIL will be presenting this to different states to basically try to get them to adopt their model act. And so we're working with NCOIL. We've been invited to quite a few of their calls, and have given um, our testimony for that as a representative of the industry for public adjusters. Not just fee caps, but also contract provisions, requirements, stuff like that. And then we work with other like state associations, and I can get into that a little bit. Illinois just passed a 10% fee cap on residential claims. So we've been really lucky to work with the Department of Insurance and continue conversations with them on the 10% fee cap and potentially getting that amended. Um, Indiana just had contract changes for public adjusters, did not implement a fee cap, but did implement different contract requirements, a contract approval requirement to submit your contract to the Department of Insurance. Um, Florida has too many changes to even start going over. I'm sure you're familiar with
Florida
those.
man. I'm in Florida. They call me Florida man. So yeah, I definitely know it's a lot of stuff happening here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we work with different state associations. So states like Connecticut, Georgia, AAPIA in Florida. Nancy Dominguez does probably the most incredible job out of anybody running an organization. She's just incredible. So we work with these different state associations to support what they're doing in those states, and basically be like another voice of reason, or either support their position. As a national association, we don't go into those states and tell the states how they should run their state. Each one's very different, so one approach just does not work. So however that state wants to run that state association and the public adjusters in that state, we're typically in support of them. um, so that's what we do, and it stays pretty busy. We attend a lot of conferences and events, and like legislative conferences and events, and provide testimony or meet over Google Meets with departments of insurance. And it's been, as I was talking at the beginning, kind of a master class. Man, the amount of learning that I'm getting to do is amazing. Um, Especially working with these other associations and the leaders of other associations. Um, some really incredible people in our industry.
Yeah, man. And I like what happened when you said the amount of learning that I get to do. It almost seemed like you started to salivate, like Pavlov's public adjuster, right? I remember when that was one of the questions that I would get when I was younger, and I did not know how to answer it. You know, people say, "Well, what do you like to do for fun?" And I didn't know the answer because what I like to do for fun was learn. But it seemed like the wrong answer, right? So, well, what do you like to do for fun? And I would get stuck. Now, now that I'm an adult, I happily and wholeheartedly say I like to learn for fun. And it seems like you do as well, and all of these different organizations, man. Like we were talking about the law of large numbers. If you have a large number of organizations fighting toward a goal, you have no choice but to win. But is APIA no different than Napier or any of the other organizations?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. APIA represents all public adjusters. So what I mean by that is we have members that do really, really insanely large claims, the multi-million dollar range, and then we also have public adjusters that work on average size claims. And I use the word average really intentionally. So like 92% of property insurance claims that are filed are under $22,000. So that's an average size claim. And a lot of our members, they just range. So we don't represent public adjusters that just do really, really, really large claims, such as like NAPIA. NAPIA represents the public adjusters that do really, really, really large commercial loss claims, or and that's what their efforts, their legislative efforts represent and go towards. And then with other associations, and that's great. NAPIA's, I think they have, that's their focus, and that's really great. There are public adjusters that need that, and they do really, really large claims, and it's good. And APIA takes the approach of we want to be the voice for everybody in the industry, whether you're doing large claims, small claims, and not just representing public adjusters, but the policyholders that we serve. And I think there's a lot of pride in that, not as an association, but as a public adjuster, as a firm, as a taking pride in like making a difference in the average person's life, or the average person's claim, where like a $13,000 claim, most attorneys aren't going to take on because of the size of the claim. There's a lot of public adjusters that won't either. And when you have a loss, $13,000 for an average family income can be substantial, especially when I don't think insurance companies are inherently bad. Sometimes the adjuster is brand new. Sometimes they don't have the training or the skill set, and the reserves get set low, and people just need help. So for that, I mean, that can be devastating for an average consumer. So that's who we are. And then we work with different state associations, like I mentioned, and not just state associations. There's other organizations too, not just public adjusting, but UP, United Policyholders, that does a ton of stuff always, like all over the country for policyholders, and their initiatives are just tremendous. They're doing a lot in Hawaii and California, and then AAA, which is the American Adjusters Association, that Caden Tinkelberg is kind of heading right now. And they have a lot of tremendous efforts that they're working towards, and some are different from us, and it's another set of hands that's solving different problems. And then you have associations like CAPIA, which is like Connecticut Association, or the California Association, CAPIA, MAPIA, the Mid Atlantic Association, and then like Florida, like I was mentioning, Nancy Dominguez, who heads that association, and just doing so much for not just public adjusters, but policyholders that need the resource of a public adjuster. So us as an association, when there are issues in states and we get involved with them, we come in to work with that association, see what their goals are. Why are they pushing for this legislation, or this departmental change, or this judicial amendment to the law, and how can we support that? Are we aligned with supporting that? And everybody has a kind of a different role to play in the situation. I have seen online before that people in the industry are like, oh, there's so many associations, and this one's popping up, they're all the same, and that is just not true. They're not the same. They all have different initiatives, offer really great and tremendous value, and can make a really big impact with legislative efforts in different ways.
Yeah, and that was taking me to my next question, because one thing that I like that you do, even from the people that you learn from, mentors, the books that you're reading, the different organizations that you're aware of, you're very good at remembering the names and then giving them their credit. I give credit, but I don't always remember the names. So I'll be like, yeah, I heard somewhere or I saw somewhere, that it wasn't my original thought, but it resonated with me and I'm sharing it. You're very good at not just, all right, that resonated with me, but remembering the person that you heard it from. And then when you say it, just making sure that people know, all right, this wasn't my original thought, but it could have been something that I originally thought. But let me give this person their credit, right? I think a lot of times people in industries like us, it's very easy to make it seem like you came up with it, or this is me, even though, like I say, we all have coaches, we all have mentors.
Mhm.
And I think that's a good habit of being able to remember and give credit to where credit is due. So let's say somebody is already a member of one of these groups, be it big claim, average claims, or they're not a member at all. Is there no real reason why they should join APIA?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, why become a member of the American Association of Public Insurance Adjusters? Um, what happens in one state will trickle down to another state. So, just because Kentucky has new legislation that did pass and they have a 15% fee cap, there's neighboring states. So, when Indiana looks at legislation to pass or is proposed a fee cap, they're going to look at what does Kentucky do, what does Illinois do, what does Michigan do, what does all the surrounding states. This happened in Kentucky. Actually, they looked at what does Georgia do, what are all these surrounding states do, what do states all across the other side of the country. They talked about Texas when they were reviewing the proposed legislation before it passed in Kentucky. So what happens in one state matters. And this is such a good question, because when I first got into the industry, I have a buddy who was in another association, and he asked me to join. And I got on the website and I was like, okay, well, like maybe I'll network a little bit. Maybe like they have a conference once a year and cool. But their fees were semi high, and I passed on it. I'm like, I just, it's not really going to affect me. Like, I'm not going to join and I just didn't understand what that association was doing, what value they were actually bringing to me without me knowing. And that's one of our kind of the members journey campaign that we're working on, is how to disseminate these initiatives that we're working on that are affecting public adjusters. And whether you're a public adjuster that's working at a firm, you're a solo operator wearing all the hats, you're a firm owner that's trying to grow an organization, you're doing appraisals, or you're a contractor, or you're a policyholder that needs the help of a public adjuster, these legislative changes are going to affect you. An example of that, so the Kentucky legislation that passed is now being looked at as a model act to distribute to other states. There's also the NAIC model act, which is being opened for public adjusters for amendments to be made to the NAIC model act, which 17 states have adopted, and the majority of other states have taken parts from, Indiana being one of those. So these changes do make their way to other states. So for members who want a long career, love public adjusting, are worried about the longevity of their adjusting firm, these matter. So becoming a member, your member dues, go towards lobbying efforts or legislative efforts, and some of them are expensive. I mean, we've been in states where we've spent $45,000 on lobbying efforts, and they just go quick, especially when we're working in so many states. So becoming a member and staying apprised of what is happening in these other states. Are there issues that are happening in my state? I actually posted on, you mentioned a group, PAM, Public Adjuster Messenger, which is a Facebook messaging platform. And I posted on there about the Illinois changes, and there were public adjusters in Illinois that didn't know that this law was in effect or that
Mm.
anybody was working on it. And these are things that they really cared about and want to participate in. So becoming a member can have a big impact. It's not expensive, and your small contribution as they pull make a really big difference for funding these efforts to help public adjusters continue to operate. And they're not just fee caps. There's contract requirements, contract limitations, operating requirements. There was an issue in Iowa that we participated in where currently you can determine causation in appraisal, and other parties were pushing for the departmental change for basically limiting that you wouldn't be able to determine causation through appraisal, which would really affect policyholders and
Yeah.
consumers. Um, so we participated in that, and they basically completely did away with it. They did not make that departmental change. So it's being a part of these initiatives as an industry in your state, and just taking part in it. So whether you're a member or you wanted to contribute just more because we're operating in your state and you're like, oh no, this is a big deal. We also have a legislative fund that members or non-members can donate to right on our website. You just go in and you hit legislative fund, type in the dollar amount, and it all makes a really big difference.
Yeah, it seems like y'all are very transparent about it's not just an emotional argument to, all right, contribute to us because we are doing something for you. Just no, trust and believe us. We're doing something for you, and don't you love the policyholders, and don't you want to be doing this forever? It seems like y'all don't just make that emotional argument. Y'all also show exactly tangibly what's being done, not just subjectively, but objectively, right?
I'm actually really happy that you picked that out. One of our core like pillars, I would call them, is transparency. We want not just our members, especially our members and our legislative directors and our committee boards to be aware of, but we want the industry to be aware of the initiatives that we're pursuing on their behalf. There are other associations that are not that way. Their leadership does pursue initiatives that none of their members are aware of. And we are not that way. We will not be that way. It's one of our guiding principles. So along with our member journey, those are the updates that we send out to be 100% transparent as an association and the initiatives that we're working on and for.
And that's great, man. Definitely, that transparency would help people. Depending on they're not just right brain thinkers; they're left brain thinkers. They're not just they don't want to just hear the stories. They want to see the algorithm of what's making this stuff work, right? So let's say somebody gets it. They understand what happens in one state affects another state. They understand that y'all are actively pursuing legislative and y'all making sure people are aware of what you're doing. But they don't have a lot of time to commit. Is there nothing that they could do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do have, and I'm going to unpack that a little bit to explain what it looks like if you do have time as well. We have members, and these are all they go through a kind of an interview process, a quasi interview process, to be on our different committee boards or on our legislative director, calls and that board. But we have a board of legislative directors where we do have some openings in states. We are looking for public adjusters that do become members and are interested in joining our legislative directors. They're basically the point of contact for us in that state. They manage building relationships with other public adjusters in the state, meeting with their to make an introduction and let them know who they are. Meeting with their state representatives, their Senate representatives, their Department of Insurance, and kind of that connection point. And then we have like monthly calls, and we also have a conference committee that's being led by Brenda Hefner, and she's doing a tremendous job with that. Just really driven. And so different committees that we're putting together. Those aren't the only two, but to participate in a committee and just kind of give back to the industry, be a bigger contributing member. You can typically just gain because you're more involved. You're building a network. You're networking with also pretty high pace individuals that are doing amazing things. There's one of our legislative directors, Denise Z, is just really impressive. She operates in California, and she'll be the incoming president to AAPIA. So just networking with tremendous and amazing other individuals in the in our in the public adjusting arena. And then for others who are in the grind or, as you said, are more focused on like family time, whatever your priority list are, you just don't have time. But you do want to have an impact and make an impact. You can become a member. You'll see where your member dues, your contributions go to on our monthly newsletter. And we're doing a lot more than that. It's Rome wasn't built in a night. So this is, we're more of like a grassroots effort. It's a slow build, but we're working on it. And to become a member, just reaping the benefits of that. You're still getting community. You're still getting, updates on the industry, what the industry is doing, changes that are coming, and just being aware. And so that's a good way. And then also donating to the legislative fund, especially if you're aware of what's going on in these different states or your state specifically, donating to that, and it can make a really big impact. And that can all be done through our website, becoming a member, becoming a sponsor, donating to the legislative fund. Yep.
And you already mentioned a lot of the benefits, the actually seeing what your dollars are doing, being a member of this community, getting updates of legislation in your state and other states. Are there no additional benefits that you haven't mentioned yet that the members can expect?
Yeah, community is a big one, and as we continue to build that community, currently a lot of these initiatives have been up, but we've revamped them. So, like our newsletter that we send out being one of those, and then we have other things in the works that we're wanting to roll out at the beginning of 2024 for a more impactful and optional members' journey to build a bigger community, help public adjusting firms network more on a more consistent basis. I won't give you like all the details, but we got some really cool stuff in the works for our members that I think will be really unique to us as an association. We're really mindful of the core of our association and who makes up our association and the needs of those public adjusters, those public adjusting firms, and the clients that they're serving.
Mm-hmm. And this is the last question for you because I know you're a block schedule man, and we're probably reaching the end of your block when it comes to awareness, right? So one last question: how can adjusters join?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you visit our website, appia.org, AAPIA.org, you can become a member through there. And if you have additional questions, you can actually email info@appia.org, just info at appia.org, and ask any questions that you have. We'll get back to you right away. But our website, we have a drop down bar at the top, and you can select Members Journey. There's a button that says like take my seat at the table or help my, and it'll bring you down how to become a member.
Okay, great. Cole Kline, president of APIA and Hope Public Adjusters, thank you so much for giving me your time. And please leave the listening and viewer audience what's the best advice you ever got?
The best advice I ever got. This is the hot seat now. I think being I think it's important to be clear and not clever. I think that,
Mm,
and you mentioned that with giving credit to where credit's due. I think that it's very easy to take something that you've heard and kind of make it your own and sound clever. I think it's more important to be clear. I think that goes a long way with relationships and like one-on-one connections and anything with transactions. Being clear, not clever, I think goes a long way. And so it's something that we try to practice at Hope and at AAPIA, especially with our initiatives. And so, yeah, really great question. I've
nah,
also really appreciated you having me on. It's been a great conversation, and I've loved just connecting with you. I know that you're up to some really cool stuff, so we'll get into that next time.
oh yeah, nah, definitely. Because I definitely want to extend any time that you want to bring more awareness to something that you're doing, rather with APIA, rather with Hope Public Adjusters, or anything. Please feel free to reach out. And definitely, that's a great advice. Be clear and not clever. I work with a lot of public adjusters, right? Very smart people. And one of the main things that I try to get across and do get across is everybody doesn't need to know you're smart. They don't have to know how smart you are. Like, it's okay to speak binary sometimes
Yeah,
if that's what it takes to get the communication and your point across.
it's the facts.
Thank you so much, Cole Kline, and I appreciate you.
Thanks, Randolph.
Hold on.